Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And just a reminder, my home base is wedon'tdie.com, where you can always find great things like medium demonstrations, classes. We offer a free Sunday gathering inspirational service with medium demonstration included, 2 o'clock New York time every single week, and more, all at wedon'tdie.com. My guest today is a remarkable bridge to the spirit world whose work is built on a foundation of deep compassion and a surprising amount of cosmic comedy. Barbra Banner is a certified evidential and trance medium recognized by both helpingparentsheal.org and Mark Ireland's esteemed list of certified mediums. With decades of experience on the front lines of grief, as a member of the LAPD's crisis response team, she brings a unique understanding of the human heart to her readings. Her journey into this work was a calling she couldn't ignore, ignited by objects flying off shelves and mysterious glowing orbs, and confirmed by the revelation that her gift is a family secret spanning generations. Barbra's here today to share her incredible "you can't make this stuff up" stories and teach us that a good dose of laughter can be one of the most profound medicines for healing our grief. You can find out more about her at her website, bannermedium.com. Barbra, new friend, welcome to We Don't Die.
Well, I am absolutely thrilled to be here, and can't wait to bring spirit in, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, I knew from the very beginning we are kindred spirits and we're going to get along famously. First of all, are you on the West Coast? Is that where you hail
West Coast.
from?
I'm in Los Angeles.
You are. Okay. Now, if I can ask you to take us back to those orbs and the flying objects, and how did one get into all this? It sounds like from childhood.
I don't remember anything going on in childhood. I remember it starting in junior high when, I don't know, I wished something, it came true, I did this. I said to my friends, I think I'm a witch. I didn't know what a medium was. And after that, I started watching Sylvia Brown, who's one of the old timers, and, John, and I didn't think anything of it. In fact, my mother brought me a Ouija board, which I thought was really weird at 16. And I said, what am I going to do with this? I need a pair of go-go boots. Take this back. I had no idea I was involved or anything until my later sunset years in life. During the pandemic, all of a sudden, there's stuff going on. I used to go out for commercials and have to do my own, video. And I wanted to look at it before I sent it in. And all of a sudden, there's orbs everywhere, flying nilly-willy everywhere. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then I go into my bedroom and I scream to my husband, come in here right now. You won't believe what's happening. He goes, no, you come into the den. You won't believe what's happening. Simultaneously, the ceiling fans were going like 1,000 miles an hour. It could have been like a helicopter. And the lights were flashing. What was interesting is there was no light bulb in mine. I had used it to put it in another fan. So clocks flying off the wall. There was a lot of disturbances. So I just said, look, it's obvious. Spirit is calling me. How could I not answer? So I took a class with Suzanne Giesman. I didn't tell my husband it was a mediumship class. He would have, thought I was nuts. I told him it was a communication class. It just happens to be communication with soul to soul. Finally, he got on board with, some evidence that he couldn't even. I said, you're either in or you're out. There's a lot of good stuff happening. If you want to be part of it, you're just going to have to say, okay. So he was in.
I did my share of lying myself. I would say I was going to business workshops and whatnot and fly to take some classes. Oh my goodness. What line of business were you in
I was a hotshot advertising copywriter for big agencies and companies for, decades and decades. But I always liked to do volunteering where I could, raise my sleeves up and get in there as opposed to just writing a check. So somehow everything that I picked unbeknownst to me, was one step closer to me becoming a medium. Especially the last one, when I would go on scene where the policeman was there and a deceased body, and the family came, and I would have to work with the family on the worst day of their life with their son or daughter or husband, like laying there, gone.
Things
So
have moved pretty quick for you.
within 7 months, this is very funny, within 7 months of me taking Suzanne's first class, now I want you to know, I never even meditated before. That's how backwards I was. Spirit said, you got to hang a shingle, lady. So I started donating readings and taking donations and, sharing them with women's groups and everything. So it just went really fast, like 7 months.
Tell us about some of the evidence. Now, you said your husband got some, you've got some. I know it takes time to really get it that this is real. I mean, certainly the physical things that are happening, you can't deny. But how about those thoughts in your head that you think those are really people's loved ones?
While I was on the scenes, I didn't think about that because it hadn't happened at that point. But my evidence comes in my readings, where some of it is so crazy that I don't even want to say it because I think they'll think I'm crazy. It's just, I happen to have some very, very funny guides. So they play jokes on me. They are mischievous. They've gotten me into a lot of trouble sometimes, and I don't know if they're supposed to do that. They were at one point, I was getting emails and calls. It says that I have an appointment with you, that we have a session 2:00 on Wednesday. I didn't make it. And I was getting these calls and I'm thinking, is this some kind of a glitch in the system? What's going on here? And then they started coming with names of other people in the message center, in the message window. And I thought, what is going on? So I asked somebody, I said, look, who is Gonzalez, Susie Gonzalez? Why is that on your session? She goes, that's my housekeeper. How would you know my housekeeper's name? And I said, I didn't even write this. I don't even have the ability to put that in. And I said, is there any reason your housekeeper might want a reading or something? And she goes, her son died 2 days ago. And I was finding out that all these people that had an appointment had something going on in their life that they actually could have used me. And I said, what is my guides are booking appointments to me? What is next? I couldn't believe it. And that's not the only time it happened. So I just go with the flow. I was shocked. And it was a lot of paperwork. I had to call everybody, say, I'm so sorry, technical glitch. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want them thinking I'm trying to throw out a hook to get them to make it a session. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
That's wild and wonderful.
It was wild. I've never heard that before.
People can be the middleman, as you know, to give a message to somebody else. We see that on Sundays quite often, that the recipient is not in the room, but the message is going to someone else.
Whenever I get a name and I say the name, because I'm not great at names, I'll tell you now. But if I get a name and she said, well, that's not my mother's name, but it's her best friend's name who's alive, that is meant to be for her mother. No, for the client to get in touch with the mother's friend, because something is going on with them. They're having problems. They're really lonely. They're feeling afraid. So I always say, please, that little message is for you before we go. So you need to get in touch with them. And she said, yeah, she is having some real problems with her family right now. So there's always a reason. They don't mince their words. There's always a reason for them to say something, even if you don't know it at the time.
Yeah, very true.
And as for crazy evidence, I had a lovely woman who's just, missed her husband so much. And every year, like on the same day, she'd have a session and she'd say the same thing. You tell me he's always around me. I'm not feeling him. It's been 6 months. I don't know if he's gone on with another woman. I don't believe he's with me anymore. And she goes, I said, I'm telling you, he's with you. They've got other things too, but he's with you. You just have to talk to him. She said, okay, if he's with me, he will know the TV show I binged over the pandemic. Now, do you think that I could come up with that? No. I look at him because we got very friendly. He always was trying to do an X-rated session, and I would always have to stop him. So he told me, he said, Outlander. And I said that to her, and she said, that's it. That's it. I could have fallen off the chair. I was so shocked. That you can't expect that, every time. So, and I said, stop testing me. I hate when they do that. But she needed it. And as they say, spirit gives you what you need to know, not always what you want to know. So other people who try to test the medium, spirit is not giving it to him. I had someone yesterday say, what's my nickname? What was my nickname? Asked my husband. I said, I don't know. He didn't tell me. He knows you want to know, and he gave you something better than that.
We can't force the loved ones. If you get an opportunity to talk to somebody for the very first time, thinking you never would, it may not be a secret code, right? It might be, I love you. Remember when we did this, this, and this.
Yes. And that's what he gave her instead, because that really is much more important.
Yeah. And you mentioned the X-rated things. I've seen it through medium demonstrations. We're still us with our sense of humor. Thank goodness. And sometimes I see the medium blush and he turns, he says, I can't say that. I can't say that, or a guy medium will get a kiss from a guy and say, oh my goodness, and just, it's really hysterical. So one thing is for sure, we do not lose our personalities.
No, but they still can try to push because they still try. I just said, that's it. Go get a room. This is not X-rated here.
You mentioned your husband's gotten some signs. I want to talk a little bit about more signs, and then your work with the LAPD and the crisis center.
Well, my husband only gets signs. He gets them when they're advantageous to him. He'll say, I wanted to ask my father what I should do in business or that, and he told me that I was doing great. Okay, so he felt that his father does, but I have to I'm the go-between because he couldn't conjure up nothing. So on his own. So yeah, so I help him a lot, but it's hard to do your own family. That's usually, I was working with Very Soul for a long time, and it's really tough to get somebody's that really well, because you don't trust yourself that it's real. You think it's just your imagination. And that's something that I think was the final thing where I knew I was really ready, that you start trusting no matter what they give you. You just say it. Yeah. There's been a few things that
are out on those skinny branches because, I've taken plenty of courses myself. Is it me? Is it them? Is it us? And to just put yourself out there. So any of the mediums, developing mediums, it's
trust
tough.
Them. You have to surrender to spirit and trust them, because they're not going to make a mistake. I mean, they can't make a mistake. We can, by not trusting them or saying something a little differently, or just, our head is our worst enemy in giving a reading, because we're not spirit. We're just talking through them.
Absolutely. Could you talk a little bit? I know you had worked 35 years supporting people on a crisis hotline.
Well, yeah, over the span of like 35, 40 years, I've had several different volunteer jobs. So I was 14 years on a crisis hotline for women. And the thing is that before you can go on, you've got months and months and months of classes and studying and listening to experts. I mean, and lots of therapists, and there's always a therapist there to help you. So you get so much background. And for the crisis response team for the mayor of LA, I don't think there's a kind of passing that we haven't gone over, from like everything, how everything is different, and people who, their child suicided or something, they feel different things than somebody who came home and their husband was murdered, or somebody who got run over from you know, a car. It's all different in how they react. So when I usually tell them how their loved one passed, I have some insight of how to handle it or what to say. Because so many times, like for suicide, the parents always feel guilty. What could I have done? Why didn't I think of that? How could I not? There had to be something. And it's always their loved one is just saying, you have nothing to feel guilty about. It was going to happen. You couldn't have done anything differently, and you were a wonderful mother. Hopefully that's the case, that, but everyone handles everything differently depending on what happened to them and how their relationship was when they were alive. A lot of people, loved ones who remain just feel really guilty about their alcoholism or this or that, or that, that they had mental health issues themselves. So I've had clients say, can you be my therapist, please? And I said, no, but I'll give you somebody. I understand coming from a different level. In fact, therapists send me clients sometimes who are stuck, who they've been working with, trying to work with the grief and everything else, but they don't really believe yet that they're around, and it's sort of like, boot camp. Go to Barbara's boot camp, and once they get evidence that they're around, and oh my God, just yesterday, I said, who's stamping on a bunch of bugs on the floor? What the heck is going on in the kitchen? She goes, that was me 2 days ago. I said, well, how did I know that? That is your husband telling me he's with you. And you do that 4 or 5 times in the reading, and all of a sudden they pivot the way they look at things. It's like, I better look at this differently, because he's not gone. He just went a little ahead of me. So you can't bring him back, but you can bring him closer and look at it in a different way.
Absolutely.
And that's what I try to do.
And our loved ones are healthy, whole, well, no matter how they get to the other side. Everybody's greeted by loving arms. They're their best age and they feel great. And so, we don't want to experience grief, and it's the worst thing any human person could go through.
And what's really a little screwed up, if you ask me, is that grief, we think, is a time to be so sad and we're being punished. How could they do this? And what grief really is for you to remember how much you love this person. It's like black and white, that if you keep thinking about how much you love them, because if you didn't love them, you wouldn't be having grief. It's like, okay, he's gone now, but it's that love that they want you to hold on to, not the sadness. And that's what they want. They come down, how people say, I'd cut off my left arm for my kid. They don't want your appendages. They want you to have a happy life full of joy, and only joy and laughter, and trying to see that you guys signed up for this. Although I do hear that suicide is never on the contract. Can you corroborate that? Or?
Well, I personally don't believe in contracts. I believe we have missions of things we'd like to experience, fulfill.
Right.
But in general, not specifics. And I do believe there's cause and effect. I do believe go bungee jumping and the line breaks. I didn't sign up for that. Like somebody could have been.
Yes, but
so
that's
I
not
don't.
Suicide.
Yeah. And as far as suicide goes, I think this life can be really, really, really tough. And I know from my own experiences that there's a deep, dark place that we feel like there's no other way. And, it hit me when I was experiencing grief, and not that I chose to take any action, but I got a little understanding that there is a place that we can go. So what I say to all my guests and everybody who listens, that there's value in what everybody says. And nobody has to believe everything I think. Nobody has to believe
Or
everything you
me,
think or
please. No.
anybody, but there's things that we can take that our soul goes, yeah, for me, I get that. I get that, and there's a lot of parents that really believe that they have a contract with their child. And I'm not saying they don't. I have a dad that passed, and a whole chain of awful things happened after he did. And I thought to myself, well, what if he went exactly the way he did, so that now I have 500 episodes of the show, Sunday Gathering, have made a difference, have got the book and all that. What if we did sign up for that? So I'm not close-minded to it, but I do think there's still things that happen that are out of our
There's so much we
control.
don't know until we go. You don't know until you go. You don't know why you're here, really, why this passing was so important to your soul growth. You don't really know until you get over there. Oh, that's why I did it. Well, that it's like they're helping you. You know what I mean? Some of these tragedies in your life are really moving you forward. We just don't understand it at the time.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I can say. If we look at everything that happens as growth for our soul and an opportunity to learn and then serve others,
Yes.
that's powerful. And everything that happens to us, if we just are patient and do the best we can, sometimes a couple years down the road, you say, oh my gosh, had that not happened that way, I wouldn't be here talking to Barbara
Exactly.
today.
Exactly. It's like a Rube Goldberg of our life. Something goes down and then this goes down, this goes up and flies over there. It all connects and it all seems to work at the end, and you've done your job. On to the next.
Yeah. Tell us about meeting up with Helping Parents Heal in Mark, Ireland, because that really
Oh
says
God.
something to be recommended by them, because it's, there's
Well,
hoops you have to go
it's
through.
a rigorous test, and I did not pass the first one. I little anxiety, test anxiety. Anyway, I was asked by a client to come to a a, a gathering that they had to do a reading, to do a gallery reading. And I was so affected afterwards how I just connected and felt so deeply what the parents were feeling, what the little children were feeling. And I said, this happened for a reason. I am I'm getting goosebumps all over now. I am meant to help parents with children. That is one of my things that I'm going to focus on. Um, I just, I don't know, little kids like me. But I just really connected, and I said, I have to be part of this. So I did. And Mark Ireland is one of the founders with Elizabeth Boyson, of Helping Parents Heal. So he has his own certified list. And in fact, Suzanne Giesman refers anybody who doesn't want to wait 6 years to contact Mark Ireland's list and pick one of those. So I get a lot of referrals from that. So they're just doing such a great job. I mean, I would recommend Helping Parents Heal to anybody who lost a child, even if they're 60 and you're 90. Okay, grief doesn't end at Medicare. It just, so I can't say enough about them. They take you through the whole journey of grief.
They do. And there's over 40,000 members, and it's free. And even if you're not a parent, they have a wonderful YouTube channel. So I always
Right.
like to
And they have
say,
Helping Fathers Heal too. They don't discriminate. They know that they have their own issues with grief. They don't open up as much as women do. In
I
case
love that
you
you
didn't.
said grief does not stop at Medicare. You've got a couple of really good one-liners that could be book titles. And thank you. I asked you if you're a medium that has the 10-minute guarantee. That's one of the things that I've been making sure
Oh,
when people book, that it just,
sometimes if I'm not happy, I'll say I'm giving
Mhm.
you a refund, and I'll give you a free other reading too. I,
Yeah,
I'm here to be of
you're here to
service. And
serve.
sometimes, they say Suzanne says it's three legs of a stool, and everything has to be in harmony. And Sometimes I'm not. I had a reading and I didn't want to cancel it. Um, and I went ahead, even though a friend of mine, 40 years passed the day before, and I was supposed to put on the funeral. And when I got the review, I said, I'm not even upset because I would have done the same thing. And so it happens, and you just have to go on, and it's also hard. I don't know about you. It's never. I know we have to say it's never a client's fault, but sometimes there's just the energy just isn't gelling. What can you do? It's nobody's fault.
I agree completely. And just to be honest, so thank you for having that level of integrity. Now, you say you're a trance medium. Could you talk about what you mean by that? There's trance
A
mediums
lot of people
bringing
and
through loved ones.
trance and
There's
channel.
channeling.
It's sort of the same kind of thing. I call it more trance. Um, we take our, I was training for it. I never thought I could do it because I'm not one to let go of control very much, and I couldn't even be hypnotized. I figure who's going to put me in trance? So I took this class and I got over the hump of letting go. And in trance, you take your whole head out of the game. Nobody's coming to listen to Barbra Banner. They're coming to listen to the spirit or the loved ones that I can bring forward, or their higher self, or their guide. So I got to get out of the way. I should go and come back after it's done. So I can bring up my higher self and the spirit team and their spirit communicator, and they can all get together and feed me the information. And it's different. The only thing, and the words they give me are not my words. I think you can tell already that I'm not a flowery kind of person, no. The words that spirit gives me are often very beautiful and there's meant to give them guidance and wisdom and messages of something that's maybe going on in their life, and answer maybe some questions that they've had. And the thing is, I don't remember a thing I say. I'm out of it. So basically, I just say, I hope that resonated. And when they come back and say 100% or it's exactly what I need, I feel wonderful.
There's a lot of intelligence in our soul and in the unseen world. My listeners and viewers will know when we speak of trance, I'm very close to a trance medium.
I know.
And that, Scott, yeah, bringing through people. So trance is people. Channeling can be loved ones, guides, Mother Mary, Jesus, whoever they say. Just because trance, they can prove who the person was. So that's just the lingo we use on the show.
Okay.
But it's very, very powerful. And I've taken courses too, and I'm amazed at some of the responses. And I don't do any sessions or anything like that, but I'm a girl that needs to experiment, try things to know if it's real. That's how I got into learning mediumship and hypnosis and everything. That's what got me from skeptic to believer, giving verifiable information in different ways. So anyways, kudos to you for putting yourself on the line and being open to working with people in
it's
all
improved
these ways.
My mediumship so much because at the end I do a trance message for them, and they know who it's from because I say, who do you want it from? And that's who it's from. And those are the ones that give them information that only they would know. And sometimes while it's going on, because sometimes we hear the words, we're not listening, but a couple weeks ago, they're giving this information to this woman about her daughter. And in the middle, I realized I just said, and how do you like the origami? And I think to myself, what? I just go right through it. I just do what they say. Or a man says, my golf is so much better here. And those are not the kind of messages that the trance, that the loved ones usually give. But they throw those little zingers in. I told you that's my spirit team, just trying to make sure that I am trusting what is being said. And those little things sometimes I remember. So
yeah.
And she
Nothing
had a
wrong with
piece
the
of
zingers.
origami in a box that her daughter had made for her in the hospital. So who knows? Just say it.
Exactly. Just say it. You call yourself a medium of 1,000 years experience. What does that mean?
So, I worked with VeriSoul, which is a wonderful organization for mediums to work with other mediums and train and practice. What was the question? Hold on, what was your question? I just literally forgot it.
Oh, that's okay. You call yourself a medium with 1,000 years
Oh,
experience.
so a lot of these people were doing trance, and it kept coming through because people said, how did you do this in 7 months? Or how could you be ready to? And I said, I don't know. And they all told me the same thing. You've been doing this for centuries. Okay. This is not, it's like a little boy who's 3 and goes and plays, Mozart. And it's like he was probably Mozart or some other pianist in his other lifetime. So that's what everybody kept telling me. So my mother was almost 104, and I had just wanted to tell her that I was doing mediumship. I didn't know how it would handle. I thought it would put her right over the edge. Okay. And I said, Mom, I have to tell you this. And I said, I'm bringing through Dad, and I'm doing that. And I didn't know how you'd handle it. She goes, your grandmother was dragging me to tarot readers and mediums and psychics all through my childhood. Everyone else was going to dance class, and I'm at, Madame Broussasa's, crystal ball. I said, Mom, you're almost 104. When were you going to tell me? And she just, brushed it off. So what did Dad say? So my grandmother had juju herself and had people lined up around the block to get some wisdom from grandma. But nobody told me in that day that you could have been burned as a witch. You know what I mean? So you had to keep it on the down low.
Absolutely. Well, I can see right away, Barbara, why the spirit world chose you. You're easy to talk to, plus all the training you've had to deal with all these crises, that it would be a given. You're here serving humanity anyways. You care, you listen, you're loving, you got a sense of humor.
Thank you.
And it's like, yeah, she's not doing anything during COVID. Let's give it to her,
Exactly.
right? Let's put her on Zoom and have her take classes. Talk about the humor. It comes naturally to you. You've got these one-liners and things, and I know there's a time and place for it. And I also know you've got a deep heart and sense of compassion. But the spirit world, they're not gloom and doom on the other side. They're living life. It's joyful.
They
Talk about
are.
lightening things up a little bit because it can be tough
So
in our grief.
I believe that humor and laughter is both physically and mentally raise your vibration and are like some of the highest vibrations, gratitude, all of that. So um, some channeler told me that my team was picked to work with me the way I like to work, which would be, let's keep it light. They're in a dark place anyway. Let's see if we can raise their vibration. And so that's why I got those guides. So I must have been funny, in 1732. So they've been around and they know how to work with me, and we just work well together. I read the room. One of the things my daughter always tells me, Mom, read the room. We are not laughing at that. Okay. So I have to talk to the client as I give them my intro, and I throw a little thing in that most people laugh at. And if they don't, okay, it's all compassion. And I give them what they need. And hopefully that they do respond, because, what could make a reading lovely is having a few laughs, because I always say at a certain point in grief, you're going to be able to pivot from looking at this picture that, a year after your loved one passed, and crying because, just looking at it and feeling so sad that they're gone, to looking at it and laughing because your son had the goofiest look on his face and you remember the joy. And I just, I do whatever I can to teach them to reach them on their own, to come a little closer. I give them little exercises they can do. I give them a whole sheet of references to get closer yourself. Get closer yourself. And to do that, you actually have to let go of some of the grief. So
I'm going to ask you to maybe teach us one or two of those things now,
sure, I'll give you,
because
sure, yeah.
a lot of people think that if they go to a medium, and mediums are great, good mediums are great, but they have to keep going back. And
No,
it's
you don't need them. And I work with people to do it on their own, and give them exercises. Like one thing that I do usually before I say goodbye to somebody, I said, okay, I'm going to count to 3, and they're going to tell me the absolute first thing that comes into your mind. That's all I want you to do. And then I go 1, 2, 3. I will give me an item or a symbol or a thing. Right now, what is the first thing that comes into your mind? And they'll give me something. And I'll say, I want you to know that within 3 seconds, your critical mind will say, I can do better than that. Let me make it better. No, that's not. Your loved one, your husband put that into your mind. And he knows when and where, and I'm getting goosebumps right now, that you will see that. And it'll be in a place that you don't normally expect it. So anyway, I told a woman, do this. And she okay. And she came up with a peacock feather. And I said, okay, so within the next several days, your dad is going to show you a peacock feather. Now, she lived in Turkey. Like 4 days later, she goes, I got my sign. I said, where did you get what it is? She said, I was going to the bazaar in Istanbul, and 2 doors down, a new store came in. And the logo, they used a peacock feather as an L. So that's an example of how they're going to give it to you, not just like looking at a book and seeing a peacock. That it's going to be special way they do that. I've had people say it was on the license plate, or Bob's Peacock Haven, or you know what I mean. It's always going to be something you don't expect, even if your sign or symbol is normal. It's not going to be where you. And another woman said, I just thought of a butterfly. She said, but there's not going to be any butterflies because I'm in Wisconsin and there's snow all over the ground. They're not coming out for months. 3 days later, she emailed me and said, I was sitting out in the back. There was a little sun. And all of a sudden, one butterfly came down and sat on my heart for 10 minutes. How does that happen?
They're with us. So
they're
say
with us.
1, 2, 3, and what comes to mind? And
what comes to mind? And first of all, Spirit's not going to answer any of your dreams or wishes unless you ask them. You must ask them. It's like the law of attraction. You have to ask, Spirit, please, or Dad, please show me X. Okay. And he's going to show you X. And if it's not, it's because you thought of something else. And anyway.
And we don't pay attention a lot. We're so busy on our phones.
Right. Well, that's why I say the first thing, don't
got to be present.
That's right. And that's something that everybody can do themselves. You don't need any kind of anything, but meditation is the best way to connect and open the pathways. And I know everybody doesn't like to meditate, or they say, I can't, it never works for me, all of this stuff. And I say, do it when you go to bed. You won't be thinking about, oh, I got to get to the bakery by 3. I got to pick up Susie by 8. You have nothing to do. You're in your pajamas, you brushed your teeth, you're in bed. Okay. It's time to start clearing your mind, and then listen to a guided meditation. They're all over YouTube. They're free. I'm going to give you everything that's free. Okay. And let them just listen to somebody talk them through it and get them into that space where it's open. Who knows? You might have a dream with them come in. Grief just is like cement on the pathway to connecting.
Yeah,
So,
grief is so painful. And
so
I
painful. And
agree about being in the present moment, whether it's an audio you listen to or just paying attention to your breath. And the more we can
yeah.
be in the present moment during the day, I think the more they can just kind of drop their calling cards. Just today, all of a sudden, I was getting ready for this interview, and all of a sudden, I got a flash of a gentleman I dated who's no longer walking this earth, of him and I in Caesar's Palace in Atlantic
Ooh,
City. I haven't thought of that, nor would I even want to think of that. It's okay memory, but it was just a little calling card that's like, hey, hi, okay, thanks. So I think we need to be in the present moment and don't brush off those things, because just little things like, hey, Sandra, those
exactly. Why did
reminders.
that fly into my mind right now? And there'll usually be a reason. You'll find out. Maybe you're going to see maybe someone's taking you to Caesar Palace soon. Who knows?
Yeah,
Um,
maybe. I
or
don't
maybe
think
it's a
so,
good
though.
time to gamble. I don't know. Get in that card game.
For
Um,
somebody who's listening right now, Barbara, who feels that their wall of grief is just so huge, it is hard to break through that. What advice can you give so that they can open the door just a little bit to signs from their loved ones?
it's not an easy, but the first thing, the saying, seeing is believing. That's not for us. Okay. Believing is seeing. If you don't believe that you can receive a sign, and and that there is something else, it's just not going to work the way if they tap you on your shoulder and say, hello, I'm here. It's not happening. Okay. Right away. Okay. um, you are going to have to believe. You are going to have to read books. You're going to have to get to the point where, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to feel something, to see something, and just to feel that energy shift. And one of the other, to any of your viewers who want, I have a resource page that has different, different exercises and different uh, guided meditations and a lot of different things that they can do on their own to get closer. But, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but a lot of times I tell them, I said, I know this is hard for you to believe, but you guys picked this life, and you picked everything we do in this life is a lesson for us, and we don't know what it is until later. So if you can think about that, say, I don't know, and you just have to trust that this is all the way it's supposed to do, and I am going to be better for this that just happened. I know you can't even imagine, but there is a reason. And if they can sort of change their mindset, I mean, if you can't change the situation, which you can't, you have to change the way you look at it. And everybody's going to go through grief for a different amount of time and at different stages, and one size does not fit all. But all I can say, and by the way, laughter, 15 minutes of laughter equals 2 hours of restful sleep, restorative sleep. That's how powerful laughter is. Okay. It can stave off during grief. It can stave off anxiety and depression and keep you from not getting depressed later. It can lower your blood pressure. It can raise your immune system. These are all studies from Berkeley, the Cleveland Clinic. This is real stuff. So I always say, when you're really feeling bad, get the kids together and go put on a movie that your son loved, that you all laughed at, and just enjoy it together and know he's there with you, throwing popcorn at you. Okay. Just believe, and let yourself. A lot of people feel guilty about laughing, after somebody passes. Like, how could I laugh? They want you to. That is our job when we lose someone we love, is to find laughter again and to find joy again. That's all they want. They're having a ball. I mean, sometimes they say, I got to tell you, Your husband isn't missing you that much. He's with you all the time. You're the one who can't see him or feel him or know he's here. And you can get there. You can get there and you will start to feel him and know that that little, yesterday in a reading, I said, your husband is, have you been feeling anything on the back of your head? Like, she goes, yes, I went to bed last night and I felt something was touching the back of my head. I said, he's stroking your hair, telling you how much he loves you. And she wouldn't have thought that. She thought it could be a spider here, for God's sakes. You don't know. You have to be open to it.
Yes, absolutely. My goodness. I want to say just a couple things. One, people, be open just a little bit. Our life as a human being is so tough. It is, and it's really hard to believe that there could be an afterlife, etc. But just challenge reality right now. Think about it. You're on a planet in an ever-expanding universe. All right. Mind-blowing. And then even science, down to our tiniest little bit, going through our atoms and molecules and all that business. We're invisible vibrating energy. There's no stuff that makes us up. We are invisible vibrating energy, and this is all real. So we are a grand illusion, and it's hard to believe, but energy cannot be destroyed. Two or more forms of energy can be in the same place at the same time. If a log burns, it turns to heat. When our bodies disappear, our energies, our personality, we're still alive. So just be open. Just be open. So, Barbra, tell us about your website and what we can find there. You started to say some of the things, but you are Barbra Banner. Nope.
No,
Rewind.
Banner Medium.
Bannermedium.com.
Yes.
Bannermedium.com. Like how I rewind myself. But tell us about some of the pages. I know we can book a reading with you, but you also said you have some resources.
Yes. If you go on my website and just put yourself on a mailing list, you don't even have to book or anything. I will send you a page of resources that you can start to work on yourself. And it also has a little story on the afterlife, which, there's a million different versions of people write things, but this one resonated with me, and it's short, of what to expect in the afterlife. And those two things are, they can help you to get a bigger picture of what's going on over there, and what you can do to try to open up a pathway where you're more aware of things that happen. Like I say, you felt a little thing on your cheek, and you thought, why? I said, why can't you understand that was your husband? Trying to, and people think it's my hair. My hair keeps falling in my face, and it's not even. I don't even have a window open. They don't go there to think about, because they're not aware enough, and it takes time. My gosh, it takes time.
Barbra,
And
what
on my
closing
website,
words?
it also has my TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, and I post little 10, 15-second like OMG moments from a lot of different readings, so you can see what can I expect. There's some funny things. There's one funny story I'd love to tell you. Part of my reading, I ask the client to think of a question, and I don't want to know what it is. You're going to ask it on your own, in your head, and about, maybe how they can guide you or what's going on in your life. So I said, okay, your father's showing me in a little boat, because they like to give me a little prop. And you're in the front and you're rowing, and your dad's in the back and he's rowing. And in the middle, there's a man, there's a guy there. And your father stands up and he throws the guy overboard. And he says, well, let's go. We are not picking him up. Leave him there. So I said to the client, what was the question you asked him? She said, how do you like my new boyfriend? I said, it's not good news.
That's funny.
It's funny. I get funny stuff from them. I'm not making it up.
No,
and I don't even know what the question is.
Oh, that's great. What closing words do you have for our listener or viewer today, Barbra?
Oh, gosh, I probably already said them.
There's always more.
Huh?
There's always more. 1, 2, 3. What comes to your mind?
The first thing I love is the Edgar Cayce word, is that they're not gone. They're just going a little ahead of you. And that's a great way to think about it. You're all going to end up in the same place, and there's going to be a party. And I also just heard that, because everyone says, I wish I could hug my loved one. I heard that the hug that you get when you arrive is the most three-dimensional, best hug you have ever felt in your life. And I've got goosebumps all over. So think about that hug. What do I want to leave them with? We can all do this, all of us. You may not be Mavis, but you're gonna be able to do this, to be able to feel the energy and understand, if you just have some patience and practice some of the exercises that you can do. And if you really are interested, you can always take a class just so you can learn how to meditate. And meditation is the key. Suzanne will tell you that as well. Take a class and learn to meditate and open up the pathway. And there's a million ways that you're going to understand that who do you think? I had somebody with a twinkling light that was kept flashing. She had a electrician and changed all the wiring. Boy, was she a sucker. And she said, as soon as he left, it was doing it again. I said, it wasn't the wiring, it's your son. We just don't go there when something happens. And there's so many books out there about signs. So once you understand what some of them are, you may say, that was a sign. You got to believe.
It's true. Well, Barbra, thank you so much for being our guest today.
It was such a pleasure. And I hope that everyone learns how to do it. I'm happy to be out of business. Okay. I got beaches in the Caribbean I want to go to too. So just learn it for yourself. You don't need to spend money on a medium if you put the time and the effort and work in. So it's up to you.
Thank you so much. And for our listener or our viewer, reminder, you can go visit Barbra at bannermedium.com. That's her website. And again, my website is wedon'tdie.com. Please come to one of our free Sunday gatherings with medium demonstration included. We also offer classes, medium classes, through our good friends Carrie McLeod and Phil Dykes from mymediumship.com. Everything we offer, always 100% money back guarantee. We want everybody to be happy. And meditation, we also call it sitting in the power to recharge that spiritual battery. We are all divine souls having a human experience. When we migrate to the other side, we'll get full use of all of our capabilities, but we do have them now through laughter, through gratitude, through all of these good things. So exercise that soul of yours. We'll put it to you that way. There's so many good things, good books out there. Of course, I've got over 500 podcast episodes here talking about signs and so many different things. We just need to stay plugged in, be in a good community of people, and talk to our loved ones. Someday we're going to be that loved one on the other side, and we're going to see just how difficult it is to talk to our loved ones. And we're going to say, we're right here. Oh my gosh, I didn't know this. And now I know from this point of view. So trust, keep talking to them. They're very, very much alive. So in closing, I'm Sandra Champlain. I'm always so happy to be your host on We Don't Die. I do believe that life is an education for the soul, and that your life here on earth is important. You can learn from everything you do. And if in doubt, look for somebody who needs some help. Be of service, and you can never go wrong. So I really want to thank you for listening or for watching, and we'll see you again soon.